Welcome everybody to the Village Board meeting for July 27th. And at this time, I'd like to ask everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence for our armed forces serving throughout the world. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, up front tonight, we have administrative business. So,
Full stop and stare.
can I have a motion to accept the minutes from our meeting held July 13, 2017?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Jess, could you please read abstract number 4?
Abstract 4 contains vouchers 17-0279 through 17-0372 and totals $368,927.51.
Thank you. Motion to approve abstract number 4.
Make that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve budget modification for the general fund per Clerk Potvin's memo dated July 12th, 2017.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve budget modification for the water and sewer funds per Clerk Potvin's memo dated July 12th, 2017.
Make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
As always, copies of these memos are on our website. Next up, may I have a motion to amend the fee schedule by adding the following. Under the Building Department, wireless communication recertification, $250. Under the Water Department, water meters, 5/8, $300, 1 inch, $450, 1.5 inch, $800, and 2 inch, $1,100.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Old business. Jess, can you please read the bids? That was all part of the memo.
A bid opening was held on July 24th, 2017 for the curb and driveway apron improvements for Jackson Street and Grant Street. Public notice was printed in the Times Herald Record on July 14th, 2017, and the following bids were received. Royce Excavating of Slate Hills bid was $237,264. CMC Construction of Slate Hills bid was $99,103.20.
Thank you. Motion to accept the bid from CMC Construction in the amount of $99,103.20.
Hey, Mike, before we vote, is that the same group that did the previous one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second, sorry, buddy.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, could I have a motion to authorize the mayor, me, to sign all documents related to a property exchange with the town of Woodbury upon review by council as follows. From the town to the village, Section 219, Block 5, Lot 21, and a portion of Lot 20, Highway Garage and Salt Shed. From the village to the town, Section 204-1-30, Earl's Reservoir.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up, we have new business. We have a presentation of a hotel at 96 Turner Road. That's where they are interested in putting the hotel. I just want to state for the record that it is in the zoning there, so I'm not sure why they're here, and it just didn't go straight to the planning board, but I'd be happy to see the presentation. Well, I don't know, they might. Usually they go to the planning board. Can you see that?
Yeah, 90. Oh, here it says 96.
Okay. So,
Microphone? Sorry.
the people here are Richard Morris from La Quinta Hotels, and the owner's representative, Mr. Jerry Freund, and from Lankin Tully, John Queenan, and myself, from Lankin Tully, John Queenan, and myself, Lucy Conley.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to hear us out and let us present before you. We're here tonight basically to give you an overview of what we're planning to do. At,
Can you a little closer?
Sure. Thank you.
You can just pick it up if you want.
No
Yeah.
problem.
You're a
I'm used to
big
it.
guy.
Yeah, go ahead. Richard's just going to distribute some information on the hotel chain.
No, I have. Bring it back.
Give them one.
Excuse me, yeah, excuse me. We just have a couple renderings. That's what you saw on top. It wasn't the, okay, thank you.
Okay. So thank you. So we're before you tonight just for an informational meeting to go over with you what potentially we'll be submitting to your planning board for their review. Is a site plan for a hotel located at 94 Turner Road. Right now, we have some different alternatives that we wanted to start here with the village board just to get you comfortable with what's going on. We realize that we have, a road ahead of us with multiple boards and multiple approvals. The applicant wanted to start with the village board first, just so that you were up to speed on what we would be doing, what would be submitting, so that you weren't getting everything secondhand, and how our plan is going to unfold based on what we would like to accomplish there. So what I'd like to do is we submitted to you basically 3 alternatives for different configurations that we like to put on the site. Lucy from my office will take you through those alternatives. We also have Richard here from La Quinta Hotels, who will go over the brand, what they're looking to accomplish here in the area, and specifically for this site. And then if there's any other questions about the property owner or anything, Jerry can answer those questions as well, as he's the owner's representative. So I'll turn this over to Richard. He can go briefly through the La Quinta brand and what they're looking to accomplish at this site. And then, like I said, we'll go through the actual site designs.
Thank you for having us here this evening. So I don't know how familiar you are with the La Quinta brand. We're close to a 50-year-old brand. We're in throughout the United States, Canada, and Latin America. We have 900 hotels, publicly traded company, the New York Stock Exchange. We're about, out of that 900, we have 260 hotels under development, which makes us the 4th fastest growing hotel brand in the United States, with companies like Marriott and Hilton. So how did we come to Woodbury? So we kind of I, as the development director, handled the state of New York throughout the New England states up through Eastern Canada. And we had other sites that Simon Malls has that we had looked at as well. And when we did our, what's called a STAR analysis, which is called Smith Travel Report, as you know, this whole 17 corridor is going through a lot of growth right now, whether it's here at this end all the way up to Monticello with the casino, Legoland, the expansion of the hospital, just a lot of development. So we decided to focus in on this corridor. We currently, in the next 3 months, will be breaking ground on a hotel, 104-room hotel in Middletown, where the old Howard Johnson's used to be. As you come off the exit right there, there's a Buffalo Wild Wings. the Banta Group, who has a lot of development up in this region, will be doing that project along with potentially another site. We're probably after the first year breaking ground in New Windsor, which is in the Newburgh area?
It's in the Newburgh area, but New Windsor is New Windsor, it's a town.
Town. So we're going to be breaking ground on one after the first year up in that area as well. So then it brought us to Woodbury. When we looked at the analysis of all the markets up here, the reports came back, this was the number one market, hotel market, on the 17, let's say I-86 17 corridor, period. Had the highest room rates, highest occupancy rates. I mean, they were getting as much as $100 more per night on your shoulder weekends over Goshen, Chester, Middletown, Newburgh, Monticello, any of those areas. So there, we recognized this was kind of ground zero for the biggest demand for a hotel. Because really you only have one hotel in this market, which is the Hampton Inn. So that would cause us to focus in on this market. We knew that there was a tremendous demand from the Premium Outlet Center, Simon Malls. Also just geographically, the logistics of this location, pulling from the surrounding area all the way up to actually as far as Poughkeepsie, to the, what's it called, the military,
West Point?
West Point. Just looking at what they'll have when the sports and stuff were going on, collegiate sports, they actually stay at the Hampton Inn of all places. So that's kind of why we're here at this particular location. So we started looking at what was available for a potential hotel site geographically, and that's when we engaged John, and I'll let John and Lucy, I guess, take it from there. But that's how we came to these three sites, trying to figure out how do we come up with a feasible project of approximately 100-room hotel in this particular location. Okay? Thank you very much.
So first, we'll orient you to the area that we are proposing for the hotel. So this is US State Route 32, and this is Turner Road, Corporate Drive. The Cosmos is just south of here. Actually, here's the Cosmos. Here's an office building, the mobile station, and the martial arts place, and the existing hotel. So this the zoning in this area is LC, limited commercial. A hotel is allowed under the zoning. A hotel requires a minimum of 2 acres, and there's a 12 rooms. It's a 12-room hotel that's allowed on 2 acres, and then for each room, an additional 5,000 square foot of lot area is required. So for the La Quinta 104-room hotel, about a 12.5 acre parcel would be required under the current zoning. So that will play into these alternatives. So the first alternative shows the hotel on a 3.1 acre parcel off of Turner Road. This is this triangular parcel with frontage on Turner Road. And the alternative includes improvement to the Turner Road Route 32 intersection. The intersection would be straightened out so it's at 90 degrees, and there'd be a right turn lane to get off of 32 onto Turner to access the hotel. So since this is a 3.1 acre parcel, it would only support a 21-room hotel. So the applicant would require a variance on a density variance for the larger number of rooms. Also, last year, the code was changed to include a requirement for hotels of 100-foot frontage on a state or county road. So since Turner Road is neither of those, so this particular site would require a variance on that requirement, the frontage on a state or county road. Additionally, the applicant would require a variance on height. The La Quintas are 40 feet high. The code calls for 35-foot maximum. And also a variance for parking in the front yard. Of course, that could be, the parking could be rearranged so that variance would not be required. So that's the first alternative.
Just give you, on the size, real quick, so that Hampton Inn, give you a nice sense. So their public records show that they're running just under 80% occupancy annualized for a 12-month period with 146 rooms. So no one could come into this market with less than, you'd have to have at least a minimum of 100 rooms to get into the market to try to absorb that demand generator that's needed.
To follow that point with Richard, the investment, just the property purchase alone and the investment in the infrastructure would never support a hotel of 20 or 30 or 40 rooms. So you have to get up to that 100, 120 room mark in order to make it economically viable to develop.
So in this second alternative, the applicant would purchase a 100-foot parcel from the martial arts business to obtain the 100-foot frontage on the state road so that variance would not be required. And this parcel would be attached to the rear parcel, but the hotel would remain on the rear parcel. Access to the hotel would be directly from Route 32 with a driveway off of through this new parcel and then into the hotel area. So this intersection would not actually be improved in this alternative. So with this alternative, the parcel area would be increased somewhat, but there would still be a requirement for a density variance for the number of rooms, and a height variance would be required, and potentially the parking in the front yard. So in this third alternative, the hotel is now on the martial arts property. The applicant would purchase this 2-acre property and locate the hotel there with direct access off of 32. This alternative, of course, has the required frontage on the state road, but on 2 acres, it would still require the density variance for the number of rooms, and it would still require the height variance, and also the parking is all the way around the building, so there would maybe be some variances required for parking in the front yard.
I got a quick question. Did I miss something? So if you're going to buy the property that the martial arts studio is on, does that mean you're not buying the property in the back?
Well, that's the last alternative. You're ahead of the game.
I don't want to get ahead of the game.
No, it's a good question, and we'll get to that when we get to the last alternative. What happened was we recognized that we needed the additional 100 feet on a state or county road. So the owner and Richard, the hotel, they approached the martial arts talking about the 100 feet, and the 100 feet snowballs down to, well, you could purchase the whole lot, and then you can build on this lot, by yourself. So we included that as another alternative in this scenario, and I think you'll see the next alternative will tie everything together.
I mean, me personally, looking at this, I'd rather you buy the whole 5 lots. The 3 lots and the front lot, and that will cut down on the amount of variances or
correct.
trips to the zoning board.
Not only that, but you just talk yourself out of getting a variance before the ZBA. You understand, we're the village board.
Yeah.
We're not the ZBA or the planning board.
no,
But
I understand that.
by showing that you do have alternatives, and I would, of course, like to hear that, the ZBA would be very unlikely to give you one of the smaller variances. Now,
Correct.
We're not the
But-
ZBA, but,
That's correct, but under their process, we'd have to show them alternatives anyway, so that's
well,
kind
you'd
of
have
what
to
we're
show
doing.
them why you couldn't do it
That's
without
correct.
the variance.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
So we'll finish with the alternatives, and I think we'll end up where you guys already are.
So, under the last alternative is the two lots would be combined. So we have a 2-acre lot plus a 3.1 acre lot for a total of 5.1 acres. The hotel remains on the front parcel for easy access from Route 32, but some of the parking is relocated in the parcel off of Turner Road. And this could be a pedestrian crosswalk. The hotel could shuttle guests, possibly with an electric golf cart, from this lower parking lot to the hotel. So the variance for density is still required, since this size hotel would require a 12-acre parcel. However, the front yard, parking in the front yard variance is not required. The 100-foot frontage on a state or county road variance is not required. So the two main variances would be the density and the height. Yeah. So.
So to give you another just sense of what's going on in this market, so the capital investment on this is going to be about $13 to $14 million for this project. Middletown, which is, 35 minutes up the highway here from this location, we are with Pyramid, which owns the Galleria, which is going to become a lifestyle shopping center. They're planning a hotel there. Another hotel, Residence Inn, is going in behind our La Quinta, and another one out by the hospital. So they're bringing in another 200-plus rooms, in addition to several hundred rooms that are already in that market. So the tax dollars that Middletown is receiving, plus another one they just built over on 87, 100-plus room hotel that just opened up about 6 months ago. So that's another reason why we're trying to look at this, because all those tax dollars are going to go from Harriman, Woodbury, straight up the highway, because there's just nothing here. And you can see the reason why no one's ever built here, because of the restrictions that we've dealt with.
From your perspective, have you calculated out school property sales and hotel taxes by any chance?
We've got a revenue number that, that we, I don't have it here with me, that we've calculated, that kind of, in the formula, as John was referencing, that's why we got to the 100-plus room, actually anywhere from 104 to 120. We knew we had to be in that number.
Yeah, I think what Councilman Egan was going for was what the benefit was to the community by bringing in X amount of tax
Right.
dollars for the school district, et
It's,
cetera.
yeah.
He was asking
Local and county.
if you had done a.
Revenue projections for
projection on
taxes,
that.
school property taxes, sales tax, and hotel tax.
Yeah, we,
Just curious.
You want it?
I did a rough, when I heard this hotel was coming, I did a
Please,
search.
please come up to the mic.
You know better,
Or you can
David.
come to this.
Yeah, because he's one of these.
So when I had heard the hotel was coming to town, my name is David Sutz, I happen to be a town supervisor, and we have a hotel tax in town. So I was very interested to see your hotel. So I did a little search online, and it looks like your average rate is about $150 in this area, maybe it's a little bit more. I figured 365 days, I figured 300 days at 100% occupancy, which is 80% overall. And I calculated that you'll do a little over $4 million in gross revenue. That's an average. Potentially, it could generate a little over $225,000 in hotel tax to the town of Woodbury, which we are all part of. So that number's been calculated out. As far as the other taxes, depends on the building, the cost, the materials you use, and so forth.
Thank you, and the village is going to get a piece of that, right?
Let's not get ahead of
Just gave
ourselves.
you a nice resume. Okay.
And he did that without taking his shoes off, so.
I was going to say, maybe he has the inside track on La Quinta, yeah. But no, we're very early in the process yet, so those numbers will come out as we get down the process. But there certainly is an economic benefit to this hotel. And the zoning code is written, it's a little odd. It's by requiring such a large parcel of land for these hotels. Typically, they range, your typical hotel site is between 3 and 5 acres, somewhere in that range throughout the rest of the county. So you do have that caveat in your code that makes it a little bit difficult to get these 100-room hotels, which the area needs to sustain, and the land, the tract of land to do so. There's not a lot of good land left in the commercial areas that aren't already built, and it's difficult to find, 12, 14-acre parcels kind of there for the taking, especially in and around Woodbury Common. So that's kind of why we're targeting this site. I mean, we are right next to the Commons. This is the overflow parking lot for the Commons. So this is really the ideal location
We're
to
familiar
get
with
that.
it. 15 to 19 million people visit a year.
Yeah.
So I would have thought that's also in your analysis, I'm assuming. Yeah.
That's why we're here, and
Yeah.
overall, you really just have the one hotel, down the road there behind the Coles.
And there's a second one going, not in our community, but off of 208.
208, yes, in South Blooming Grove, correct. What's that? Sleep, I think it's a sleep-in, so there is a demand here for it. So what we're trying to do is come up with an alternative that we believe would satisfy, all the boards that we have to go to. And our next step is to go to the planning board, make application. They'll obviously going to look through all these alternatives, and we'll come to some sort of consensus on which one we should move forward with. And then after that, we would go to the zoning board of appeals for any of the variances that would be required based on the plan that comes through the planning board. And then hopefully we are receiving those, and we'll go back to the planning board. But this is where we kind of want to start, just to keep you guys updated. And if you had any comments, preferences, concerns, issues, we'd also like to hear your feedback and anything that you may think that you would like to see in the plan as well.
Anybody?
I mean, I would just say is, I've stayed at La Quinta, well-maintained properties, and.
Like your breakfast.
Decent thing, what?
I like their breakfast.
Yeah, I mean, it's well maintained. I appreciate the fact on your road frontage, you've looked at our laws and are taking that into consideration and doing the 100-foot on a state highway and stuff like that, and look forward to seeing more. I think it'd be a good addition to the community.
I think we'd all be excited to see you have to learn how to put that in silent. I think we'd all be excited to see a hotel in the community. I'm just, both trustee Mikolajczyk and myself both served on the ZBA, and, we have a little bit of a knowledge with regard to how that process goes. And, you're looking at significant variances, at least in the density anyway, and I'd be concerned about that. I would want to make sure that you had as much research as possible as to why you couldn't do it anywhere else and all of that stuff. I mean, you know the laws, so.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know how that goes, because there's not a whole lot of leeway with regard to granting variances at the ZBA level.
No,
And
No.
you know what kind of battle you're going to have there, so
yes.
do your homework.
Obviously, your last alternative at 5 acres is going to be a much less significant variance that you're seeking than the 2 acres, so you may want to take that into strong consideration with your plan.
As long as the property owner that we have the rights to 94 Turner, we do not have the rights to this just yet. And as long as that property owner is willing to cooperate at a reasonable economic level, we can continue with this plan.
Well, I agree with everything that was said here, and I think the more property you could acquire there is going to be to your interest, because it will make obviously you're going to have to go for variances, a couple of variances, and it will make that process easier, because at least you demonstrated, and I never served on the ZBA, so I'm not really sure, but at least you demonstrated that you did everything humanly possible in that area to meet the requirements. But, then again, also I would probably head for the ZBA earlier than later, because I think, rather than spend a lot of time in front of the planning board, I think the planning board would probably send it to ZBA anyway, right away, but anyway, I wish you good luck.
Yeah, they would have to be referred to the ZBA, either by the planning board or by the building inspector. Normal procedure would be to go to the planning board, and they would refer you to the zoning board.
Correct.
You can't go directly.
No,
Does it be-
and we would like to go to the planning board regardless anyway, to get their feedback first before we went to the ZBA, got variances, came back, and then there was an issue, we had to go back to get another variance, or for whatever reason, so that's the path.
When you go in front of the planning board, they'll tell you every variance that you need.
Correct.
So when you
They're-
apply to the ZBA.
The planning board is an excellent board,
you don't
excellent
get
board.
bounced back and forth.
He's presented before. I said you've presented before
Yeah,
about that.
sure, yes. So, that's all we have. We just wanted to give you the update and get your feedback, and you'll see us on agendas, and you'll hear us about it probably in town.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that. And does anybody on the board want to add anything to that, or?
No, I do have one question, though, is on the height variance, and it's not for us, the board here, but you said it's a standard 40 feet for La Quinta?
Yeah, if you look at the design there, it's a four-story building,
4 stories.
Okay.
and the parapet on the top there is right at 40 feet. It's 10 feet per story. So you got slight elevation on that top
Okay.
fourth floor, or that's right where we're at, literally 5 feet over that
That would be something we'll
requirement.
get into with the zoning and planning. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Oh, you're still looking? I was gonna say,
Thank you.
Okay, I'll wait a minute while the room clears. Take care.
You want to see who she
Bye.
has connection?
Why do I get the squeaky chair?
Stop turning it.
Is that anybody's bag back there?
That's Jeff's.
Jeff, I'm giving your bag away. Good night.
Good night.
Lost luggage.
Okay, that concludes our business for this evening. So with that, I'm going to go out to the public. Anybody in the first row? Anybody in the second row? Yes.
Mrs. Capriglio.
Sandy Capriglione, Central Valley. Recently, well, the last few months, I've noticed that more and more there's some residential properties that look like they're either in foreclosure or being abandoned. Of course, there's the infamous commercial property that is where the Prudential building is. And I was trying to do some research, and for a short period of time, I was over in the town of Highlands, and I attended their meetings regularly. So I know in 2012 and 2014, they had several foreclosures in that area, and it was really a blight on some of their neighborhoods because the properties were abandoned. Garbage was thrown on them. The properties became run down. The grass was so high that you couldn't even, see the properties. They had some rats. Anyway, both boards, their town board, Town of Highlands Town Board, and the Village of Highland Falls Board, pulled their property maintenance codes, and they started to tweak them to have a more efficient way to handle these properties. So I pulled our village code and our town code with regard to property maintenance, and I compared them. And I guess what I'm asking this board to do, because you have the building department is under your purview, is to maybe, if you wouldn't mind, and if you have time, to look at these two examples. They pretty much mirror each other, the town of Highlands and the village of Highland Falls, but they go into a lot more detail as far as how they can expedite the process. I know I had asked Gary, and I think some other people had asked Gary about the Prudential building, and he said that, I guess, a summons had been issued to the property owner. And I know it has to go through a process, and I think they have to go to court, but meanwhile, the grass is continuing to grow, and it just looks terrible. And again, there's some properties on Ridge Road and in other developments that are becoming a problem. I think in our community where, for the most part, households, both the mother and father, or the adults in the household are working, but they're striving to keep their properties, their biggest investment over their lifetime, in pristine condition. and it's not fair to them when these other properties that are being bought are just left abandoned by the owners, or, you know, when some properties unfortunately go into foreclosure. So anyway, in this process, when a property reaches that state, it's brought to the attention of their building department. A notice is issued, and they're only given a very short period of time, I think maybe a week to 10 days, for the property owner to address it. If it's not addressed, then a notice is issued for them to appear before their town board or their village board to actually defend, the property owner has to defend why the property is in that condition. If they fail to appear, the clock starts for another 3 days for a written comment from the property owner, and if that isn't received and no viable excuse is given, then the town actually employs a private landscaping company to come in and take care of the property and to bring it back to at least a respectable condition. The bill plus a fine goes to the property owner or the owner of record, if it's the bank, if it's in foreclosure or whatever. And again, they're given a very short time to pay it. If it's not paid, it immediately gets assessed to their tax bill. The next violation, the fine is heftier, so I think it makes it pretty much cost prohibitive for the property owner not to take care of their property. I think it avoids the courts, and I think the time period, which you could tweak, I think it would be beneficial on both ends. Eventually, the municipality would get their money through the tax process if it wasn't paid directly by the property owner, but at least the residents and the commercial properties, they would still enjoy the fruits of their labor in keeping their own properties in, respectable condition. So
think
if
that's
it's
great.
something, again, I know that they went through their legal process to make sure that their amendments were legitimate and enforceable. I did speak with the supervisor of the town of Highlands to see if they've had any pushback or they've had any problems, and he said absolutely not, and that it's worked. For repeat offenders, they've really increased the fines, so that now that number, I think, has been reduced as well. And I just think it would really help our village and our town. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. I just want to, you could sit down if you want. No, if you want to stand there, you can, whatever you prefer to do. I agree with everything you said. Matter of fact, we've been struggling with this problem for a few years now. We have been issuing violations. We've also summonses, and we're going to court, and we're going through that process. Lately, we've had discussions with our attorneys about what other type of mechanisms we could put in place to help. I mean, we're not really looking to fine people. We're looking for the area to look good and, everybody to have, not have to look at properties in disrepair. So that's our main goal here. So we are looking, and our attorney is working on a law, and we are looking about, instead of, issuing fines or going to the courts, just putting the fines on their taxes, as you said. So we're hoping to have something, probably the way things work around here, we probably won't have it this year, but we are pushing to have it as soon as possible so we can have something in place for next year. The property on 32, you talked about the commercial building up there with the lawn that looks like a little forest there. We have several summonses issued on the property. We have violations inside the property also. That property is in very bad shape. So, and we do have problems with tracking down the owner of that property too. So we have a lot of issues, and we are trying to work through them. And like I said, I do agree with everything you said, and we are working on that. And I would love to see exactly what Highland Falls has, because, I'm a firm believer in not reinventing the wheel. If they have something or a process that works, I'd be glad to take a look at it. I don't know if you have a copy of it. If you'd like to give it to the clerk before you leave this evening, that'd be great. So anyway, thank you for your input, and like I said, we are working on it. Anybody else have,
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about tonight, and I especially like and had thought also of the idea of us doing it. My only concern was liability to the municipality, but at this point, I would love to see us just go in there, have our Buildings and Grounds Department cut that grass, clean it up, and pass on a bill with a 10% surcharge to cover our expenses, and, you know, it's exactly what I was thinking about and what I wanted to talk about tonight as well, and all the research you did is great. I'm appreciative of that. That's great. Thank you.
anybody else? No? Anybody else in the second row? Anybody in the third row? Anybody at all? Mickey, you have anything? Maria? Nope. Okay, Buddy?
I have nothing, thanks.
No?
I have nothing.
Tom?
I should have commented there. I agree with Sandy. I thought that Jim Scofus went forward with something and that,
Zombie properties, yeah.
that the zombie properties and that the banks should be held accountable that own the property. And so I think we could do that in combination.
Yeah, I don't think they come out and take care of the property.
Right, and that's the difference. That's, like
Yeah.
the mayor said, that would be my goal as well. I'm less concerned about making money on these abandoned or disreputable properties or whatever you want to call them. I just want to see them look good. I drive by that property twice a day at least, and every time I drive by it, I just get angry.
Yeah, and
Because it looks terrible. It's a gateway to our community. It looks awful.
no, it's a good point, and, as you say, everyone in, our community takes a lot of effort to keep their homes up, as respectable as they can, and it's just not fair, to everybody. So, I'm supportive of this as well. Thank you.
I think that's just an extreme example, but there are a lot of other properties, even on 32, where the sidewalk grass is just a little higher than as it should be in other areas in the neighborhoods. But yeah, that's the biggest example I can think of.
Jess, you have anything? I don't have anything this evening either, so I'd like to wish everybody a nice evening and a great weekend, and with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you and good night.
I thought this zombie law, though,